Okay, welcome everybody to Spyro Fusion and the mystery of the RNG, of the shop RNG. What I tried to find out is how the game is determining what kind of content is being presented in a shop, in a minigame shop. What I mean is, should play at normal speed. What determines what's like being shown at the start, which kind of card, what number of gems you'll get, and so forth. And for those familiar with the Fusion games, especially Crash Fusion, you might think, well, that's kind of a dumb question, because in Crash Fusion, the RNG is fully and 100% determined by the frame on which you confirm playing the minigame. That is this very frame, where you press A to play the minigame, regardless of the shop. Let it be waste shuffle or buying cards or spinning wheel or whatever. That doesn't matter. 69 gems, by the way. And it's not as simple in this game. It's actually way more, maybe not complicated, but way more interesting, and it's a rather peculiar mechanic. Which I don't have a name for yet. We can think about that eventually. But what happens, actually, let me put it differently. So the first thing you try rather naturally is, well, aside from just playing the mini game, would have thought that, 69 gems again, it's consistent. First thing you try is just exit and enter again. Just have to get there. play the mini game and see if the RNG changed. And as we'll see in a second, there will still be 69 gems down here. Oh, there are. Oops. The next thing, maybe we have to go back to the save menu and then see whether things changed or not. I hate to spoil you. But you can guess what the result will be now. Oops, 69 gems, so that's not it either. The next thing you might ask is, does a console reset change the RNG? So let's find out. That's what we're here for, doing some Spyro Fusion science. Because nobody has anything better to do than to figure out fucking Spyro RNG. And oops, well, isn't that a shame? But the fact that a console reset does not change the shop RNG has some pretty severe implications, because that means there have to be values stored inside the save file somewhere which determine the shop RNG. It cannot be a global thing determined on the console globally, like how many frames has the console been on or something. It's not happening. It has to be something within the save file, some value directly or indirectly influencing what's going on. And my theory is there are exactly two values which do that. There are two values the game's keeping track of, which fully determine the shop RNG. And one of them I can actually prove right here, because there are who would have thought, recall the number, two known ways to influence the RNG. First one is, well, it's pretty straightforward. You just complete a shop, because on the next playthrough of the shop, you have to get different contents, otherwise things would get stale pretty quickly. So here, something different. Now there's another Spyro card. lava fountain, and then there's a green Spyro card and so forth. You get the picture. But I hope I advanced the game enough. I did it correctly. There's 113 gems here. If I wait even longer, there should be something even different. Now there's a steel crate card. I skipped one chunk in between, whatever that means. But clearly, just waiting also changes the RNG eventually. It's not a frame-by-frame thing, as in Crash Fusion. It's more of a chunk thing. And what I mean by that, I can show pretty easily. So this right here is the RNG we got at the start of the video, like 69 gems. The card would be Firefly, third base is empty. Now the second chunk we were on, there were 113 gems. This card would have still been Firefly. Third one is empty. Next chunk would have been Slot Box. We skipped it because I waited too long. Then the next one was Steel Crate. 141 gems. And so forth. So just by waiting, you can advance for now, I'll call it seed. I'm not sure if there's a better term for it. But surely the game time is, first of all, being kept track of. And second of all, influences at least partially the shop contents in Spyro Fusion, yes, in Spyro Fusion. These numbers right here, by the way, are task confirmed. And that's also why I said it's not a frame-by-frame thing, but you have to wait between 8 and 10 seconds. It's not really consistent for some reason, but that's what I meant by chunks. So on the last frame where you get this combo 113 gems, Firefly empty, if you start playing the shop, or rather start entering the shop, because from what I know, the game time does not advance while you're in the shop, only advances while you're in the overworld, from what I know so far. But if you enter the shop on the frame after this combination, the seed for this combination runs out in a way, you would get between frame 61 and frame 613 this combination. So these are these are around about 540 frames, so that's 9 seconds, 9 real-time seconds. Then the next seed is between frame 614 and 1072. That's it's roughly 8 seconds. So that's the point. I don't really see the pattern yet. Here you also have around about 8 seconds. Here you have a little less than 8, like 7.8 or so, I believe. But what's for sure, on every frame between frame 61 relative to some saves that I made, this doesn't really matter. It's just really the relative numbers matter. So between frame 61 and frame 613, whenever you enter the shop, you get this combination. Just by waiting. And putting things together, what does this mean? If there are two values which influence the shop RNG, one is waiting, so in-game time, seed change. The other one is just playing the shop. And this is, if this were true, and I'm pretty sure this is true, this right here would be the implication. There's a certain seed determined by the in-game time, by the determined by the overworld time. That's waiting, and this is playing. This is content. So if I'm on a certain seed, as you saw, like the 69 gems, I play again, I get a different set, which is also consistent, doesn't matter when I start playing. Whenever I play, this number right here is advancing. So that's the second part of the RNG. Which means in theory, we should get a table filled with, to be fair, rather abstract numbers, maybe this. Of course, the game doesn't write into a save file. We are currently on seed 7. It's probably more abstract number, like the in-game timer. Same for the content, and both of these make up a number, some function. Doesn't matter. The point is that if you know how long the in-game timer is running already on your save file, so not console time, but in-game time, saved or stored on your save file, meaning you know which chunk you're on here. And if you know how many times you played the shop already, you should be able to determine with 100% accuracy what the content of the next shop is, or what the content of the shop is you're playing the next time. Of course, that's not specific to the Tech Park shop. Probably this number is global, and whenever we enter a shop, like what's the game doing? The game sees, we are here on the table, we get this random number, and out of that I generate content for the Tech Park shop right now. So this number is global, and depending on the shop, that's how the contents are generated. At least I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And maybe to close the video, a quick thought experiment, or maybe a possible method of verifying what I'm saying right here. So of course, this right here is test. As I said, this is test confirmed. These numbers are correct. The idea here is also correct. Now, what could happen in theory, and that's my afterthought. What could happen in theory is that there's a third random number generated whenever you generate a new save file. So whenever you start a new game from scratch, like in a new save slot, that might happen. I'm not too sure about that. But how one should be able to check this, and I think that's what I'll be doing. That should work as a method of verification. So what should work is that one starts a new game. So erase a save file or start from fresh save file, whatever. Go straight to the spinning wheel shop in World 1-2. And like the second half of Dragon Castles. And then play the minigame. And if you go there straight away, meaning the in-game time will be round about the same. And roundabout is good enough because the chunks are 8, 9, 10 seconds long. So if you do this, the content of the spinning wheel shop should always be the same. It's probably easiest seen by the number of gems you can obtain, because those are rather unique and easy to track. So yeah, that's my method of verification. Another afterthought, if this were true, so if this really is being verified, this might have huge implications for runs, because it could take away all the RNG. If this is really how the RNG is determined, then it should be rather simple to manipulate it. Even more so because the seed, so where you are on this kind of table here, is is determined by the in-game time. So if you do a run and you fail a minigame or something, you have to do a minigame again, the game timer, I'm pretty sure, is not advancing. So as long as your overworld movement is somewhat consistent, and of course, assuming we are mapping this out to some degree, which would take some time, but it might be worth it, then we could fully manipulate the RNG for this game. And I think that's a pretty huge motivation to look into this further. And I guess that's it from me for now. If you have any ideas, feel free to throw them in, and maybe we can discuss this a bit further. But this is pretty interesting stuff, really. Or so I would argue.